welcome back to Skeptics. This is episode 6, and instead of Josh today, we have Jen, the actual head of the household over there, and
Yes.
someone with some real experience in some of this crazy stuff.
The
So,
future Mrs. Josh Garcia.
That's right. Right here.
Yeah.
you could say that we traded up during this episode. So we're talking about ghosts again, and none of us have any like real or what we would consider real experiences with that. We just have like our ideas on it. So we're excited to have you here so that you can share with us like what your ideas are, but also like what some of your experiences have been. So how do we want to start this?
Well, why don't you just start by saying like, just explain your like connection
Okay.
with it right now.
So I've never actually seen a ghost. It's not
Mhm.
a physical thing. It's more of like I sense it. So I have feelings. I can't see it. So that's pretty much what it is. I'm not someone that's like, oh, I saw a ghost in my room
Mhm.
last night. It's more like, oh my gosh, I felt a presence.
Mhm.
And so, yeah,
Okay.
that's pretty much what it is.
Is there ever any kind of visual cue that goes like along with the feeling, darknesses or anything like that?
No,
Okay,
no, it
cool.
can be anywhere,
Okay.
So,
anywhere.
and then
Yeah.
the feeling that you get, is it mostly positive, like a positive feeling you get, or negative, or what's
It's
the?
been both.
Yeah.
So, as more recently, I've had a more positive experience with it. My dad's sister died a couple of years ago, and I think that her spirit is here in my house, and that has been like a positive feeling. Like I can feel
Oh.
her, I can see her, and this is another thing. I can see what they look like, but not with my eyes.
Gotcha.
So like I can see what they're wearing. I can see what their gender is.
Okay.
Wow.
I can sometimes see if they have like facial hair or hair on their heads, that kind of thing, but I can't actually see them.
Okay.
Wow.
So
Have you ever tried to like conjure anything like, or have you ever like invited anything?
No, not
No.
yet. Because
Okay.
I was scared. Like when it first started, I was scared. And then I came into acceptance. And so it's like, I know it's there. I know I have it, but I'm almost afraid to invite it in.
Wow.
But I
that
think
makes
my
sense.
aunt, who I feel like her presence is here, like I almost feel like I invited her in. Like
Okay.
I've acknowledged like I want you here. So
Interesting.
Gotcha.
yeah.
So like you can know what they look like. Is this like is it like a mind's eye kind of thing? Like
Yeah,
again, you're not like
totally.
seeing it right there, but you're like understanding that that's
Yeah.
what they're wearing or what their appearance is.
Yes. Totally.
Interesting.
I
Could
know, it's really weird. It's hard to put into words. And my
yeah.
sister, Sarah, she has the same exact
Does
thing.
she? Okay.
And we didn't talk
Oh,
about it for years. And then when it came up, we were like, oh my God, so this is real.
I know
Okay.
exactly what that's like because me and my brother both have this tiny red dot on one of our pecs, and it's identical, and we didn't talk about it for years, and then one day I was like, you have that red dot?
You have that too?
Yeah, very very very
Yeah.
different, but no,
Yeah,
that's
but yeah.
that's very interesting though that you guys would both be experiencing something like
Yeah.
so different from what I think the average person experiences,
Yeah.
and not know that of each other for so long.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when you see your aunt, do what do you see her wearing? Is it similar to what she
So
was?
I can't see what she's actually wearing, but what I can see about her, so she lived like a really hard life. Just had like a really hard time. So she died in her late 50s. She was very aged, very weathered, like
Mm,
Oh, okay.
just, hard life. When I see her, she's like fresh and new and like this healthy, whole version of herself.
mm, wow.
And like her demeanor's different. Like her demeanor when she was here was just like beaten down, like everything that comes with a hard life.
Mm-hmm.
Now she's more just like at peace and whole, and she's just okay now. And the first encounter I had from her, I immediately knew she's okay now.
Wow.
Well,
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
let's, if you don't mind, like tear this thing down to
Yeah.
the ground floor.
Okay.
Like, when did you first notice that this was like something that you sensed in life? Yeah.
Okay. So I was in high school. It was in my mom and dad's house that they still live in Gridley. And
Right next to my aunt's house.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know what year of high school it was, but that's when it started. So I used to always sleep with the door open to my room. We had carpet in the house at the time. And all of a sudden, I was probably, I don't know, sophomore or junior. I'm laying in bed and I can hear footsteps in the hallway. And I'm like, holy shit. Okay. And so it was multiple times of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, okay, yeah, I definitely heard that. So I started sleeping with my door shut. I've slept with my door shut ever since. And it started with that.
Wow.
Then I had one of my friends spend the night one time, and they were like, did you hear that last night? And I was like, what? And they're like, just women's voices whispering in the hallway. And I was like, what? Oh my God. So I was like, okay, so there might be something, you know? And I hadn't told this friend anything before that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was in college, so I was probably like 19, and that's when it got really scary. And I was laying in bed one night, and all of a sudden I just had this like almost panicked feeling come over me. Like this, it was a really dark presence, this really scary feeling. And like my heart started pounding. I like froze up, and I literally felt like something was like holding me down on the bed. Like I could not move. And I'm like, holy shit. And so I just like started praying, and then it kind of went away. So that happened multiple times. And then I started like wondering, okay, what is this? Like, okay, this is really happening. And what I could see at that time without actually seeing them, but I knew there was a man at my room sitting at the end of my bed. And he was a Caucasian man with brown hair. I don't know what he was doing, but he was sitting there. And I'm like, holy shit, that's what it is. And so at first I was in denial about it, like thinking maybe I'm just having a panic attack, maybe, I don't know. But then it happened so many times that finally I was like, this is real. Like, this is really happening. This really just came over you. Like, you really can't move.
Yeah.
Creepy.
I tend to be a believer, but I'm going to play the skeptic card here and ask you what your take on sleep paralysis is as it pertains to your experiences in college.
Okay.
Meaning, so are you aware of like the general phenomenon of sleep paralysis that people experience sometimes?
I've heard of it, but I need to be refreshed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's
So
very similar to what you said.
Yeah.
right.
So the difference
Usually,
was I was awake. Like, it wasn't like
Yeah.
I woke up in the night. It was like I was
I see.
never asleep.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's already a big difference because typically what it is people wake up, they feel immobilized, and and they do, you know, the clinical description is that they hallucinate things onto like the visual plate that they're seeing. And and the idea is that whatever waking up process has started, like basically only started with parts of their mind, but it has left like the rest of their, you know, their body dormant and stuff. And I've always been interested in that as a medical phenomenon because why couldn't it just be that when we have this weird condition going on with our brain where we're half awake, why couldn't it just be that we're more susceptible or more vulnerable to, like, you know, menacing presences that might actually be there? Like, I don't see why the two can't be real and be one and the same. But what are your thoughts on that? Like, do you find sleep paralysis to be like a misdiagnosis?
I think sleep paralysis, like that all makes sense to me.
Okay.
But I think it's two separate things.
Okay.
Like what I experience, I think that has nothing to do with what someone experiences with sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
When our friend Kendall was on his mission, he had an experience with sleep paralysis, and like, he said that immediately it was like a menacing,
Oh,
like,
wow.
they felt like it was like a demon or something. That
Yeah.
is what he said. And so he said he was like laying there, like kind of like what you said, but
Yeah.
when he finally got his movement back and he was able to wake up, he him and his companion like they went around and like casted like in the name of the, like
Yeah.
they casted out the spirit. But like I think like in conversations we've had in the past, he's like, oh yeah, it was just sleep paralysis. Like,
Okay.
I don't know if there was really an evil
Yeah.
spirit. But
Yeah.
I can
Well,
see why people would immediately, like when you feel that, would
yeah.
immediately jump to like,
Totally. You
yeah,
jump to that.
because it's so foreign. And
Yeah.
I would love to, like, I know it sounds crazy, but I would love to experience it.
Like, yeah, I can't even conceive of it. Like when people describe it, I'm like, I
Yeah.
can imagine it, I suppose, but like make this real
Yeah.
for me.
So the way it came out with my sister and I realizing that we both went through it in the same house is because she came to me and she was just like, oh my God, that room at mom and dad's house? And I was like, yeah. And she basically described to me what I had been experiencing for years. And I was like, let me tell you this. And
Okay.
the person that owned the house before us, the man that lived there, committed suicide.
Mm,
So I don't know if it
if it
was him
relates,
or who it
yeah.
was, but it was super dark to the point where we came out to my mom with it and she was like totally scared and went to every room in the house and like put oil on the walls and
Okay.
like blessed the whole house because
Mhm.
Oh, man.
she
So
knew.
let's talk about that for a second. So,
Yeah.
your whole family, you come from a religious family, is that right?
Very,
Okay,
very
Christian, I take it.
Christian.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. What's your current philosophy, religion, belief system?
Still Christian, just not as strict as my upbringing.
Okay.
So
Like where did your experiences like find a place in your mind and in your belief system then, and has that at all shifted since with any changes in your philosophy? Like where does it sit? Does it square perfectly with what you believe about God and the world? Is it something you haven't figured out how to put together? Like I'm just
I haven't put the two together
okay.
at all. I never related it to my religion. I never thought, well, because I'm this way, this is probably why I'm able to sense this.
Mm-hmm.
Not at all. And I still don't. I just
Yeah.
believe some of us are more, we have like a channel that's more open. Like my
Yeah.
dad, for example, he thinks we're all batshit crazy. He's just like, no. And I'm like, yeah, but I
Yeah.
wish like I was in denial
Sure.
about it,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think some of us are just more open,
Like in
you know?
tune with that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like an emotional person. I'm very like intuitive and in tune with other people's emotions. I can read that very easily. So I don't know if that's part of it, if I'm just, more sensitive, a highly sensitive individual, as Josh likes
Mm-hmm.
to say.
I don't know if you listened to the episode on remote viewing, but
Not
we should
yet.
try to draw something like so Cole and I, we did the experiment where I drew something. We
Uh-huh.
should just we should just see if there's any relation to the the sixth sense you have here.
Totally.
To like just like close your eyes and visualize, like what I drew. That's what kind of like what we talked
Yeah.
about, and just see if you
Yeah.
if you have any extra powers going on,
That'd be cool.
That would
It's
be
something
cool.
that I want to explore, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
almost like it's a lot like a fine line. Do I want to go
Sure.
there?
Yeah.
Yeah, you
The
go ahead.
way I really came into acceptance with it is I worked with a woman. And so I was in my early 20s, she was in her 40s, and she started talking to me about that kind of thing. And I was like, wait, let me tell you what's going on in my parents' house. And she was like, Jen, there is a dark presence there. Like what you're experiencing is real. And the one thing you need to do is tell it to leave firmly. Tell it, I do not want you here. Leave. You are not wanted. And so I did that. And I am not kidding you. It left.
Well,
That's cool.
Now, we've had other visitors throughout the years, but that one has not been back. I've done that
Interesting.
multiple times since at other places that I've lived, and it works.
yeah.
But with that, oh, go ahead.
They flew over to Cole's house and just saw him like browsing MySpace and just were like, you know what, I'm going somewhere else.
Yeah,
Different neighborhood.
Yeah,
just blew right next door.
Yeah,
funny.
That's right when you were there.
MySpace. That's hilarious.
So.
I'm curious. Have you ever met someone who talks about the same things that you do, who you think is just full of shit? And I ask because I have. Now, I hear you talking about it, and I feel like, and I'm not going to pull any punches here because we know each other. I have to like evaluate you on that level, like objectively. And I believe you. I tend to believe you on what you're saying right now.
Yeah.
I don't get that every time I talk to someone about this. A lot of people I do, like I'm very open-minded about it. Like I have my own thoughts about it, but there are people that I meet where I'm like, you think you have this proclivity or this sensitivity, but you don't. Like, do you ever meet people like that? Or that you feel that way about?
I don't think I have yet. And I don't talk to a lot of people about it, but if someone starts to open up to me about something along those lines, I catch on very quickly. I'm like, oh, Yeah. So no, my son Jackson, I was feeling a presence in his room probably 6 months ago. I knew it was this man again, and he was just hanging out in Jackson's room, hanging out by the bed. And I'm like, I don't know what he's doing here. It wasn't like scary, but it wasn't positive. And then like a week later, Jackson's walking downstairs, looks up the stairs. He's like, oh, Mom, who is that? Who's that man up there? And he could describe what the man was wearing. And I was like, oh, honey, there's nobody up there. But in my head, I'm like, oh, shit.
Dang. Yeah.
So
that's crazy.
That happened.
You're just passing on powers.
I am.
Except Bo, he's gonna get the skeptical side.
Bo the other day, Bo was like chasing something around the other day, like
oh really?
My mom and Josh saw it, and I was like, oh man, he has it too. Damn it!
I can't wait to find out about that. I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see how Josh reacts to the mounting evidence if Bo also experiences that.
I know.
Yeah, I will say that hearing the things that you're saying, like it puts me like I'm all in. I feel like I don't think that you would.
I couldn't make this up.
Yeah, and I don't think you would lie for attention or.
I was in denial about it for so long. Like I didn't want it to be real. I didn't want it to accept it. I was petrified. I've been scared of dead people my whole life. My mom took me to my grandma's open casket funeral when I was 5. I have been scared shitless of dead people my whole life. So the fact that started happening, I was like, oh, please no, you know?
Oh, yeah.
But once I came into acceptance and learned what to do with it and learned like I'm in control, then that helped me to not be so scared.
That is really cool.
It would be really fun, I'm not committing this to happening, but it would be really interesting to take you to. So my dad is a mortician.
I know, Tom. I would probably faint.
To take you to the funeral.
Oh, I would be so petrified.
I've always felt the creep. There's at the funeral home. There's the funeral home, and then there's the old flower shop.
Flowers by Nikki.
Yeah, it was Flowers by
My
Nikki.
mom worked there.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I think I remember seeing her sometimes there actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in that my dad's office is there now. So I would spend a lot of time like doing homework and stuff in there. So I'd always feel the creeps. Like always like I wouldn't feel a spirit, but I just always felt.
You felt the creeps.
Yeah. I especially felt the creeps when I was locked in a freezer, or when I was like being held in the freezer with some bodies.
Oh
wait,
my God.
What?
Why?
Did this actually happen?
Oh yeah. It used to be like, oh, how long could you go in? And then like when I went to, like
as a dare.
Like, yeah, so it'd be like 2 bodies in the freezer,
Oh my
and then like
gosh.
just go in and be like 1, 2, 3, and then open it. But then
Oh, hell no.
it was like this kid that used to live with us was like holding the door, and I'm like, "Get me out of here!"
Oh
You know.
Oh my
no. Yeah.
And
God.
that was
That's my
only like
worst nightmare.
yeah. I also I don't know if you remember this, Cole, but I had that story where my dad like left me alone at the mortuary to he like walked down to the bank for something, and
Okay.
I was on the computer, and it was like around the time Steve Irwin died, and
Oh.
it was one of those videos where it's like video of Steve Irwin dying,
Oh
and
gosh.
it was like murky waters, and it's like if you turn the volume all the way up, you'll see it, and I was like I didn't have very much experience, so I'm like tuned in, just like all close,
Yeah.
like volume up, and then it's like it just jumps like it's like someone scaring you, just like
Yeah, like a
ah!
zombie or something.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
So I was like
Scary.
13 at the mortuary by myself, scared, so
I
scared.
think Josh told me that story.
Yeah, that was terrifying.
But yeah,
That's
that would be
hilarious.
crazy. Like if I could be brave enough to like be there,
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I can't imagine.
I
Like,
would feel something for sure.
yeah, like I mean, if the like I don't know if I should keep calling it a power, but like the sense you have, if
Mhm.
it's like fully real, and
Yeah.
you like, I'm sure that there's like, I don't know, if like, I guess being accepting of the fact that you have this is like accepting of like ghosts being around us, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
So if that is real, then I'm sure that like some spirits are like trapped or like stuck at the mortuary somehow for some
Oh,
Yeah.
way.
for sure.
Man, that would be, yeah. We'll do skeptics
Yeah.
on the scene.
I would do it for this
Man.
guy.
Cool. Okay, I'm glad to hear you say that
Yeah.
because when you
Yeah.
like
It's worth
said it
it.
would be scary, I was like, I'd hate to ask her to do something uncomfortable. But if you're
Yeah,
down,
no, I had
we
to
should.
think about it for a minute,
Yeah,
but
Yeah.
we should
Yeah,
I
it
definitely.
would be very interesting.
yeah, for sure.
Would you ever consider messing around with a Ouija board? Or is it Ouija? Ouija
Ouija.
board?
I don't know. Probably I want to say no.
I think there is a line. I think there are certain things that are just unwise to do or to like push your luck with, and
Yeah,
anytime your like mental health can be
right.
vulnerable to something, that's like one of those lines.
Yeah.
I think first of all, I 100% think that there's spirits, ghosts, afterlife, all of that.
hmm
And I think we understand little enough about what the spirit side of things is like that there probably are some inherent risks in messing around with stuff. But
Yeah.
there's like a certain level of comfort or a certain level of surety that I do have where I'm like, I feel safe doing like these few
Yeah.
things. And in general, using a Ouija board or something else to like try to channel,
Yeah.
I feel comfortable with. Now,
Uh-huh.
it's different if whoever pops up on the scene is like someone with like real bad intentions. If that's who responds to whatever you're doing, like, yeah, you should get out. But,
Yeah.
and I think there are ways to do that. Like if you know that it's bad, just don't go any further. Just get the heck
Right.
out.
Yeah.
But just messing around with it in a general sense, in a like let's say sterile place, like
Mhm.
where there's not likely to be malevolent stuff
Yeah.
going on, I feel pretty safe about it. And so I've like done it a couple of times, and it has been
hmm
very interesting to try to understand what's actually going on, because the thing moves all over the
It
place.
does.
It just works really well and almost 100% of the time.
Oh man.
But you can kind of get a sense for how much of your own fault that is, like how much
Yeah.
you're subconsciously doing. But then there's also like some sense that you can see in it, some like patternistic stuff, like actual responses to certain questions and whatnot. And
hmm
and so it's a tricky one, because I don't want to say that it's entirely psychological. I don't think that the whole phenomenon of those boards is
hmm
like all chalked up to people just psyching themselves out.
hmm
I think that accounts for some of it though, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's like, anyway, it's just a fascinating experiment. It's
Yeah.
fun
Yeah.
to do and to try to figure out. But yeah,
I'd like to see someone like a group of people put blindfolds on and then like hang the camera over the board
Have
and
I
then
not
look at
shown
it
you the
after.
video we made?
I don't think so.
Okay, so we did something like that, except we just closed our eyes, and we filmed the board. The trouble was my phone storage filled up halfway through the video, so it didn't end up recording this like half hour like freaking session. But the little bits of it that we were able to see, again, we had to kind of try to make sense of it, but we like could if we tried. So it was hard to tell like how much of that is us just seeking patterns and things that aren't there, and how much of it is like, well, no, it makes sense because it makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like some examples real quick are just like first thing, we have our eyes open. It's like we suspected that there was a spirit there. That was the whole reason we were doing this. So we ask if there's anyone there. It goes straight to yes. I mean, slowly, but it goes there. And then we decide to do this like round with our eyes closed. And so we ask it some more questions, and then it slides right off the board, which at first we were like, oh, that's on us. But it's the goodbye is right at the bottom edge of the board. So really it just slid over the goodbye. So we're like, okay, maybe it's just this person's reticent, And then we asked it some other questions that it seemed to like actually be trying to give some answers to, because it would like land on things and it would repeat certain things. And so it was all very interesting, but like at the very least, I am forced to believe that if something is being channeled and helping to make that move, like it's subject to the conditions, and it has to work with the tools it has on hand, which includes the people using the thing.
Yeah.
And so it's a very haphazard thing at best.
So do you put your hands on it, right? And then it just guides you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And are you consciously not moving your hands?
Yes, you're doing your best not to move, but I'll tell you
and then
what
it
you
just moves.
Yeah, what you can notice happening, and this is why like it really pretty much only happens when you have at least two people's hands on it. What absolutely does happen, like a very real part of this, is that when someone is trying to put their hands down on it, they're like trying to be still. Being still is like a stabilization motion. So you're putting pressure in a certain way. And then if the other person slacks for a second as they're adjusting or whatever, it budges. And then when it budges, they
feels like a movement.
In an effort to not resist it, to not push against it, they loosen their hands even more, but really their fingers are still in contact with it, so they're kind of pulling it as they like loosen their hands. So this, you call it the ideomotor effect. This is absolutely a part of how it happens, is just the alternating pattern of tension and release from multiple directions and two people, and it definitely causes it to slide around. But it's like, can that be conducted? Can that be driven and manipulated? That's kind of the question.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Another experiment that I thought of that would be like really cool to test out is like if we did take you, Jen, to the mortuary to like walk through with you and like get your general feeling, and just like just
oh man,
and just take notes, but then bring Sarah in also, like separately, and then compare notes. Oh, that would be cool.
She would love it. Like, she falls asleep to the scariest horror films, so she wouldn't give a shit. I haven't been in there since my grandma's funeral, the open casket one when I was 5, that traumatized me for my whole life.
Oh my gosh.
That would be like big.
Yeah.
But I'll do it.
Dude.
And we'd have to get some clearance from my dad for sure. But.
Yeah.
Does information ever come to you? Names, ages, things like that?
Names. I mean, this is a thing that I've heard happens to a lot of people. Like, you're thinking of that person, and then all of a sudden that person texts you or calls you.
Oh, okay.
That happens to me regularly.
Okay.
But yeah, it's hard to like explain, but yeah, I do have like thoughts of people,
Yeah.
Yeah. things like that, but not like numbers or
Okay.
yeah,
And
it's hard to
specifically
explain.
with like presences, do you ever like when sizing something up, like do you ever have you ever discerned the name of like a spirit that's there? Anything
No
like that
name,
ever happen?
no names.
Okay.
No. My
Mm.
mom actually had a couple of experiences that
I
she
wanted
didn't
to
tell
ask
me.
about your mom. I'm
Oh
so glad you're
yeah.
going there. Okay.
So the week before I moved out of the condo, she goes, Jen, I have something to tell you in a week. And I'm like, what? Like, I had no idea it was about the spirit, but she was really excited to tell me. So she literally saw him
Oh my
the week I
gosh.
moved in. She was there giving Jackson a bath. So she was in the bathroom. You can see right into the living room.
Okay.
I was gone. My dad was gone at the store. She looked over. A man walked through the living room. Wasn't my dad.
Ugh.
And so she's like, oh shit, and just kind of kept it to herself.
Yeah.
Then another time she's giving Jackson a bath in the sink. And I had a ceramic spoon holder with a plastic spatula on top. Her back's to it, and she hears this loud like clank of that ceramic piece. She turns around and it's upside down on top of the plastic spatula.
Jeez. Okay.
Like, yeah. So when I moved out, she's like, hey, you remember that presence you used to talk about? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, yeah. She saw him.
So
And so that's when I believe her 100%.
yeah. She's not some stranger that you can't like vet, you know. Yeah.
She wouldn't want to scare me, and make something like that up.
Yeah. I would believe anything your mom said. She is the nicest, sweetest person I think I know.
Yeah. Definitely.
So, okay. There are people in your family who have seen things and apparently experienced like poltergeisty, like things moving. Have you ever experienced anything moving like that?
Not that I can think of.
Okay.
No, not actually, yes, one thing. I wrote it down on my little notes here. So toward the beginning when I was like 19, I was staying with a boyfriend at the time in his apartment a lot. Every time he would leave for work and we were in the room, so we'd sleep in the room, he'd leave for work, and every morning I'd have like some darkness show up. It's that same feeling. It's always the same feeling if it's a dark presence.
Yeah.
So that was happening, and I would get so scared. I'd go out to the living room, and a couple of times I would go out to the living room. I'm laying there on the couch and I look up and they had like those slat curtains.
Okay. Yeah.
In an apartment, and they were like shaking like this.
Ooh.
All of them.
Jeez.
And I'm like, okay, that's really happening, and then I look at it. So that was the one time I actually saw something.
Okay.
Have you ever had a spirit or a ghost or whatever? Have you ever had one attached to like go with you somewhere, or is it just like you go into a place and it's there?
They kind of stay where they are. Okay. So like in my parents' house, for example, there's a certain room, and me and my sister would identify that. We'd be like,
okay,
oh shit, that room again. So for some reason that room was like a channel. I haven't slept in that room in years. I can't.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You should next, like if you guys ever stay down there, you should have Josh camp out in there.
I know.
Well, that's the thing. He'll probably not experience anything, right? Because like there's probably two elements, like an inborn sensitivity to it and like a willingness to be open to it. And he has neither of those, so he probably just wouldn't experience anything, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
But we should like have him kind of vlog and just be like, I invite you in, like show me,
gosh.
like
yeah,
take hold of me.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Has it ever caused you to like take time to try to like understand a fuller picture of what's going on, or is it more just like these experiences are uncomfortable and I'm happy to only be subjected to it when I have to, otherwise I'm avoiding it?
No, I've thought a little more beyond just what is happening. kind of just realized things about myself. Like I
Okay.
knew I was intuitive, and I'm like, okay, well, no, this is like, you really are.
Mm.
What else? I don't know.
Does it cause you to think about like just the way it works, like in terms of the spirits themselves and what that world
A
is
little
or what's
bit.
happening?
Yeah. So just like the afterlife, when people
Yeah.
die, where you go, is there an in between, or do you get to come back,
Mm-hmm.
or why do they come back to these places? Like, why do they
Yeah.
choose my parents' house or Jackson's room, or
Yeah.
why was the apartment in the Bay Area? Why, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. As a person in your position, I'm very curious, what are some things that you would say you feel sure of? Like, there's speculation aside, like maybe it works this way. What are some things you feel sure of about this whole thing?
Oh God, I don't know. Like, what do you mean?
Like, I would say that, like, I feel pretty certain myself that spirits are real,
Yeah.
that they can inhabit the same space that we do, and there can be some crossover, some interaction.
Yeah.
And I feel pretty sure that there are people like yourself that, because of just something they're born with or because of life experiences, can become more perceptive of those things. I feel very sure of those three
Yeah.
things, and that forms part of like my belief system.
Yeah. And I definitely, that nails it for me as well. I also feel sure of that there is an afterlife. I do feel like sometimes it's a positive presence, sometimes it's an evil presence or a dark presence. I don't know why,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Um, Yeah, those are the main thing. I mean, just as far
Okay.
as the afterlife goes, we have no one actually, we all have questions. I mean, we
Right.
think, okay, we die, our bodies stay here, our spirit goes to heaven. But I am sure that wherever that spirit goes, they can choose to be here as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I resonate
I
with that
haven't
too, for
thought,
sure.
I feel like now that I'm talking about this, I realize how far I have not thought into this. I think because I'm like, okay, I gained my acceptance. I kind of have my like safe
Yeah.
place with it. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
so I stayed there.
Which is
That,
Yeah.
reasonable.
it's a good place to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
If I was in your shoes, I wouldn't be like
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I don't, yeah, like I said,
exercising it. Yeah,
I was in denial. Like I actually didn't want this to be me because to
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people, it does sound crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, to like somebody who thinks that kind of stuff is crazy, I think you sound very
does it
believable,
sound
very
believable?
sane. I'm on
Yeah.
board. I do have a heart out.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
At
right.
3 o'clock.
You're bailing. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for doing this, and
Yeah. Thank you. All
we'll see you all later.
right. See you
Bye.
soon.